She's a good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus and America too. She's a good girl, crazy about Elvis, loves horses and a boyfriend too. Hi guys, this is how to play Free Falling by Tom Petty. Also kind of famous, the John Mayer version is exactly the same as this. It's kind of more with finger picking. I'll be talking you through that way of playing it as well later in this video. It uses just your three chords: D major, G major and A major. If you need help with those chords, check out the first video in this batch of songs, how to play 10 songs with G, A and D. Starts with your D major chord, give it a full strum, and then your G major chord, which again we're keeping this third finger down to make that chord change D major to G major a lot easier for you, easier to say anyway. Your D, if you can play the standard G that sounds like this, that's fine as well. But you'll probably find it much easier to change between these two chords if you do what I nickname the Noel Gallagher way to play this G major, okay? So D, third finger stays down, and then you make your G major chord. If you want more help with that, as I say, check out the first video. Then, really quick change, okay? G, straight back to D. This is what we've been preparing you for. G, straight back to D, and this is for example, if you use the first line of the song as kind of a cue for when to strum these chords rather than worrying too much about bars and beats, it just happens on a certain word. She's a good girl, crazy about, okay? Crazy about, straight back to that D chord, okay? And then finally, your A major chord. And if you can get anywhere near doing that, you've basically, this song, tick. It's done, okay? There's nothing more to do. Just enjoy it. Just play along, learn your lyrics, sing along, play along to the record and have a ball, okay? It can be really tricky to get to that stage for some people. So I'm going to talk you through it quite a lot in quite a lot of detail. As I say, to start off with, D to G, 2, 3, 4. D, G, G, D, A. That pattern again. G, 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 D, A. 1, 2 and 3, 4. G, D, A. As I say, rhythms wise, it's a lot easier to think of that first line of the song. It should really help. 1, 2, 3, 4. She's a good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus and America too. She's a good girl, crazy about Elvis, loves horses and a boyfriend too. So there's a lot of the same rhythms happening there, and it should make it much easier to do. For your chorus, it's exactly the same thing. So if you want to sing through a chorus with me, 1, 2, 3, and I'm free, G, D, A, free falling, G, D, A, one more time, and I'm free, free falling, falling, I'm G, D, A. Okay, whole song's exactly the same as that. You notice I put in a few more strums in this song. In previous videos and in future videos, we're going to be covering how not to be too strict to one strumming pattern. Certainly covered it in Sit Down, the first song in this batch of 10. It's not a standard repeating pattern. There's general principles at work here, and you've got a little bit of freedom how much to add and how little to add, okay? I can give you a few examples and I can give you one to stick to, but to really get this As I say, there's just general principles at work, and you do have a lot of freedom. So don't worry too much about it. If this seems a bit foreign to you at the moment, you can just keep playing on those main pulses for the whole song, and it'll still sound great. For example, the one that I was kind of doing there, 2, 3, 4. Okay, no absolutely standard way to do it. We're basically just filling in the gaps. There's kind of a pulse through the music that's syncopated from the beat, so it's a little off the beat, it's not strict to a count. And for example, for the D to G, 1, 2 and 3, 4. Okay, filled in beat 4 then, because it's a little long between the beats otherwise without strumming. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Just adding that main beat on. The other beat happens kind of on an off beat. Just to put that to the lyrics. She's a good girl, crazy about Elvis. That's wrong. That's the wrong lyrics again. Loves her mama. That's the one. She's a good girl, loves her mama. Okay, so you fill in the gaps. Girl loves her mama. If you think about it as a grid of the 8th strumming with down strums that we were doing before, and you just add in any main pulses that happen, it should get kind of physically easier to do. We don't want to go for every down strum, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, because it saps the life out of it a little bit. But that's kind of just a few hints and tips there for you. As I say, if that still seems very foggy and you're not really sure what I'm on about, just do the main strums on the main beats like we did before when he's singing, and that sounds great. This can be a great opportunity to not use a pick for kind of the first time in these batch of videos that I've gone for. A pick is the best way to get it to sound like the Tom Petty version and get these big lush strums for a big radio-friendly pop sound, so that it sounds great when it's played in your car or anything like that. For a quieter, more subtle version that can sound equally as beautiful, check out the John Mayer version from Where the Light Is, Free Fallin'. It sounds great, and just to kind of give you an impression of that riff. Okay, so much more kind of delicate and subtle. And just to have a quick go at that, because the finger picking part of it is fairly straightforward. It might be tricky for you at this stage, as if this is the first kind of chord sequence you've ever done before. Obviously it's going to be hard. But as a general principle, what's happening here is we're going to put your thumb and keep it on the A string. Okay, and it's just going to be just above. And then with your first 3 fingers, 1, 2, 3, they're going to be underneath the next adjacent strings. So your fingers are going to be on string 5 to 2, or in other words, the middle 4 strings. And what we're going to be doing is plucking them all together like this, okay? Everything at the same time, not one at a time as other finger picking songs may be. Okay? So the D chord would sound like, it just sounds a little more delicate than that. Certainly less bright, but you know, for some people this is what they want. So that's how that one would sound. For the G chord, you can keep to the same 4 strings and it will sound absolutely fine. Preferably, we want to move that thumb to the thickest E string, because that's where the G root note is. If you're not aware of root notes yet, don't worry about it. I cover it in a later video. It's not important at this stage, really. But it's kind of more technically correct if that thumb changes string. So D, middle 4, G, switch string. And then G, D, A. On the D and the A, same 4 strings. Now that can be a really quick move, but because this chord sequence repeats so much, when you're practicing it, it can be really fun to have a go with these different techniques and see which one takes your fancy. G, D, A from the top, dead slow, in 1, 2, 3, 4. D all together, G all together, G, D, A, D, G, G, D, A. She's a good girl, loves her mama, D, G, G, D, A. You may have heard me putting a slight tap in before. I was doing that on beat 4 of every bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, D, A, 4. Okay, that can be where you can put this slight tap in. As a hybrid of those two methods, because they are the two extremes, we've got this big kind of strum for the Tom Petty version. We've got this very quiet, subtle version for the John Mayer version. You can also kind of strum with the outside of your first finger. If you haven't got a pick, or if you just forget to take a pick out with you when you're playing your guitar, or you're around at your friend's house and he hasn't got a pick, this can be a good way to kind of pretty much get the bright sound of a pick. And it can sound really good. That last couple of notes in the riff that John Mayer's playing, okay, we're going from an A chord and then putting your third finger where it is on the D chord. In a way, this makes the change back to a D even easier, but it shouldn't really be a hard change by now. We should have got D to A kind of sorted. So the second half of the riff is G, D, A, and then the last note we play all the strings of your A chord and then slide your third finger, essentially getting a kind of hammer-on slide kind of idea before you go back to your D and start the riff again. So plenty of things to try out there and things to have a go with, while basically you get that chord sequence something like up to speed so you can play the song along to the record, which is what I really recommend. Or have a sing-along on your own or with friends. That'd be really great. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you like what I do. There'll be the chord sheets on the websites to all these songs, and you can see all the songs in order, so that you can see where you're at and maybe start from a lower stage or a higher stage depending on where you're at. And hopefully I'll see you there, and I'll see you again sometime.